That concludes our club activities for the day. For the day. Remember to clean up after yourself. If you want to continue painting, go ahead, but don't forget, the last one out closes the door. Class dismissed. Now what? Business as usual in the art club today. Orderly, quiet, structured. Nothing's changed. Although the problem has been entrusted to a man outside the school, the situation hasn't changed yet. Still, Cecile keeps to herself and doesn't complain. These issues need to be solved one after another. Solving one problem won't make another one simply disappear. Everything has to be done in order. Impatience doesn't help at all, so you need to keep your mind calm and treat the people around you well. That's what Cecile was taught, so her patience knows no bounds. Even so, she carries an anxiety with her that she just can't shake. You're on cleanup duty today, aren't you, birthday girl? It's so much work, though. Let's just go. That one's always laughing and smiling. How annoying. Perhaps it's just me. Cecile shakes her head to vent her frustration and organizes her tools. It's her birthday today. For some reason, that girl thinks she can shirk her duties because it's her birthday. Cecile decides to take over the girl's duties, knowing full and well not to expect any gratitude or appreciation. Cecile isn't angry with Eloise at all. Having to report to the teacher for an important project, and then following that up with 3 study appointments in the afternoon is more than enough justification to leave early. Cecile doesn't blame the teacher either. At his age, he must be under a lot of stress too. He's probably reaching his breaking point. At her previous schools, some people thought she was being too tolerant. Cecile never considered it a flaw, though. Well, Eloise does. And just like that, she's suddenly the last person in the room. Usually, several students stay after class to practice. They aren't very chatty, and Cecile often feels less anxious when they're around. Is there some school activity going on? Everybody's gone. I guess I'll just finish this. It's unjust, but at least what she can do... it's unjust, but at least she can avoid trouble this way. There we go. She carefully puts away the chalk and the board eraser, repositions the crooked desk, and closes the window. Next up is the unbelievably large trash heap on the floor. People think it's always clean and neat in here, but when a dozen students get together and throw ideas and concepts around, there's bound to be a lot of ideas that land in the trash. Waste paper, canvases, wood chips, and obviously some oil paint that got spilled. Wood chips? Since it isn't an airy room, it's starting to smell a little, but there isn't a lot of dust from the outside either. A blessing and a curse. Cecile walks to the locker at the back of the room to get the broom. The whole locker is filled with red paint. Despite the obvious difference in smell, the deep red hues are still eerily reminiscent of blood. This is just too much. It's semi-dry, and there's so much of it that it was obviously done on purpose. Somebody must be deliberately messing with her, but that's not the point. Cecile doesn't even bother looking for a motive for the prank. Why would somebody do this? Even if it's just to annoy Cecile, this affects everyone. The whole class is going to suffer under this pungent smell. Thinking about the others, Cecile grabs a few mops and rags and begins scrubbing the inside of the locker. She could just refuse to do it and leave. She's not on duty today. No, I don't want to put any more pressure on Eloise. Who knows what type of pranks they'll come up with if she decides to show signs of resistance. She doesn't want Eloise to worry about her any more than she already does. This won't end well. Cecile is smart enough to know that, but there's no way out of this right now. Before joining the club, Cecile just wanted to find a place where she belongs. Even in the current situation, she doesn't want to let that go. Even the upper corners of the locker are full of paint. She has to hurry up, otherwise it'll be impossible to get these stains out. Cecile shuffles around, doing her best to clean up the mess. Then, suddenly, a hand shoves her into the locker. Oh my gosh, that freaked me out. Way too loud. What? She's stuck inside the locker. Acting on instinct, there's only one reaction that makes sense to her. She kicks hard against the door from the inside. It's no use. Something's blocking the door. This is more than just a harmless prank. Who's out there? She starts shouting and kicks against the door again. Who's ever out there won't answer. She can hear panicked footsteps, the sound of someone running away. Let me out! She kicks it again. It won't budge. Her small frame can't do anything against this obstacle. Again. It won't budge. A flash of dizziness. She's afraid she won't be able to breathe if she keeps this up. She's panicking, which is draining even more of her strength. Her ankles are sore and her hands are sweaty. She can't even turn her body around. Cecile leans against the locker wall. Her whole body is shaken and taken over by panic. She cut herself, but she ignores it completely. She leans her forehead against the cold locker door. Please, help. Footsteps? She can hear footsteps again, this time further in the distance. Who's ever out there probably thinks Cecile has quieted down. Hey, it's me, says a suspicious voice. The voice sounds muffled through the heavy door, but it's clearly a girl talking. Well, it's done. Scared me. I didn't think she'd be this strong. Cecile concentrates. Is this a member of the art club? She's locked up now. That should teach her a lesson. What? I don't care what happens, okay? I have it under control. I told you it would be a problem if anything came out. It sounds as if she's talking to someone on the phone. Cecile reaches into her pocket, but then she quickly remembers that she put her things in a drawer. If she had a way to call Eloise, she'd probably come rushing over immediately. But what if the relationship between Eloise and the club members gets even worse because of this? Maybe it's better this way. Everything's fine. I'll just have to go wash my hands in a minute. She's still talking, walking around the room. She sounds pretty anxious. What I mean is it really necessary to take things this far? Okay, I know. Not my decision. But I'm not comfortable with this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's no joke. The teacher can't find out about this. No big deal? Is that what this is to them? Cecile feels rage burning up inside of her. Suddenly, the voice outside sounds much louder and much more energetic. Don't even mention that. I only promised to help you because I owe you. There's a sound of metal on wood, and several chairs are being dragged across the floor. What if the representative finds out, huh? Don't keep pushing me. The voice is filled with anger. Cecile expects a sudden outburst to happen at any moment. But it doesn't. There's the sound of chairs being dragged around again, and then there's an abrupt silence. No, I didn't mean that. Hey, don't be like that. I'm sorry, okay? Don't tell the teacher. Okay, I promise. It's just a little excessive. Her bass quickens all of a sudden, and then the sound fades away. Whoever she is, she's left the classroom. Although it was interesting to listen in on them, it really isn't helpful in this situation. The adrenaline that was rushing through Cecile is fading away, and she's left with nothing but an intense feeling of exhaustion. She needs to calm down and think of a way out of here. Cecile sighs hopelessly, surrounded by inky blackness. There's no way for her to get out of here, so she'd better save her strength. Even though no other meetings are scheduled in here today, somebody will come looking for her if she's missing for too long. Right? That's about her only way of hope right now. That some class member, who probably doesn't care about any of this, will notice. She needs to do this without Eloise's help. She can't drag her into this, no matter what. This is probably going to take a while. Locked up in this dark, cramped place. Wait a minute. Just now, Cecile realizes that her body feels weird somehow. Oh! Did that picture just change? Or is it the light that changed? Something changed. This is just a regular locker. The doors shouldn't be strong enough to keep a person locked up. Can't you open it from the inside? Pretty sure most lockers have a thing like the mechanism you can push up inside. But she has a point. Her arms and knees feel weak. She doesn't have any strength left. The smell of wet paint is seeping into her brain, and she's having a hard time breathing. Can vouch. Paint smell makes your brain not work. Paint fumes. Her bursts of breath are getting shorter every time she inhales. The endless darkness makes everything so much worse. Help! It feels as if her hands are grabbing her limbs, holding her back. She feels a wave of helplessness crash over her. The more powerless she feels, the more her mind starts playing tricks on her. Suffocation. My brain went last resort suffocation, no breathing. Anyways, that's all she can think about right now. It's getting worse by the second. The last resort by Papa Roach is definitely not in tone for this, but that's what popped into my head. Invisible hands are choking her, grabbing her by the throat. She faintly knocks against the door again. There's no response. Please, help me. The walls around her are closing in. She can't move. You're coming closer and closer, like a coffin wrapping itself around her body. Coffin. That's the word in her mind that pushes her over the edge. She's trembling, pearls of cold sweat dripping from her pale, panicked face. Dark. 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 The endless darkness opens its huge jaws. Those things are nearby. They're everywhere, crawling over Cecile's legs, whispering in her ears. Her body is completely paralyzed and refuses to move so much as an inch. Dark. 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 Oh gosh, so many darks. Dark, 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 dark. Worlds fail her, and the darkness swallows her whole. Hey, pull yourself together. Cecile is panting and her eyes are wide open. She's covered from head to toe in cold sweat and grabs Eloise's hand without even noticing it. She clutches it so tightly that it almost turns blue. Ah! She looks down at the pale hand and quickly loosens her grip. I'm sorry. It's a good thing her hand brought you back to consciousness. This story is really interesting. It is! I'm still wondering how exactly we're having like a connection to Lovecraft. Because we've been told that it's Lovecraftian. On a side note, Cecile also always seemed a little nervous in the bookstore. If she's claustrophobic, that would explain it. And from that point on, you weren't really conscious of what you were doing? It felt weird, different somehow, but I can't really remember what happened. I only remember that it was very dark and narrow, so narrow that I couldn't breathe. Although I've always been afraid of enclosed spaces, I've never felt such intense fear before. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The uncertainty of when, or if, I was getting out was horrible. Next thing I know, Eloise rescued me. Hello? Anybody? The all-encompassing fog slowly disappears, and her field of vision clears up. She can hear the faint sound of music coming from somewhere. It seems almost unreal. Ugh. What time is it? It feels as if a whole century has passed. How is she just magically out of the locker? Cecile has lost all track of time as she opens her eyes. Then she she's not. Then she finally recognizes the faint voice coming from outside. Are you awake? Okay, so the door is probably open. She's probably still in the locker. Eloise looks sad and worried. Eloise, I... What's going on? If I hadn't tried to contact you, I would have never known you were... Eloise sounds worried and angry at the same time. Although she is doing her best to restrain herself, Cecile can still feel the rage burning inside of her, directed at whoever did this. Why did he ask us to why did she ask us to forgive Cecile? Or forgive... Why did Cecile ask us to forgive Eloise? What did she do? Cecile can't help but think that this could be a chance to lay everything bare, a chance to avoid trouble like this from now on. But no. It doesn't matter, Eloise. It was just a silly little prank. She raises her hand and touches Eloise's face. Sure enough, there is a cut on her left hand. The sticky blood running over her palm is confirmation enough. The windows are covered in a red hue as the sun sets majestically over the mountains in the distance. Everything is okay now. Eloise is here. Even though the shock is still fresh in her mind, Cecile has never felt so at peace before. So at peace. It's so interesting because I don't know if this is supposed to be like a charming, like, schoolgirl coming of age budding romance type thing between these two, or if it's like some kind of power dynamic thing with the whole lilac grass incense drug. But it's interesting because as we go on, like, the picture gets clearer and there's like more depth to it. An all too familiar smell drifts through the room. Eloise, when did you... Do you mean the incense? You were twitching when you were unconscious. It seemed as if you were going through something horrible. So I thought some incense might calm you down. Eloise seems completely out of it. She's holding some incense in her hand. No wonder Cecile's body felt weak and floaty. Being exposed to the incense leads to a dulling of the senses and makes you lose your bodily awareness. Cecile feels bad. She hasn't forgotten her promise to the store manager and the advice he gave her. The hallucinations over the last 10 days have been horrible. All the more reason to take a step back and be more careful. Eloise, maybe we shouldn't... She tries to sit up, but her body is far too weak and she isn't in control of her limbs. Eloise takes Cecile's hand and pulls her into a hug. A warm darkness shrouds Cecile's vision, and Eloise's steady heartbeat feels like a lighthouse beacon guiding her. Don't worry. This is all you need right now. Like, is it charming or is it creepy? But incense does calm her down. That much is true. And right now, it is helping Cecile get her rapidly beating heart and irregular breathing under control. However, Eloise's words sound strange. Almost slurred somehow. Are you worried about seeing those things? The question rattles Cecile. She hasn't really talked to Eloise about those things before. How did she know?